by saying, yes, I would like to say something, or you unmute the microphone and then you say directly, you ask a question. So please feel free to interrupt me if there is something you would like me to go deeper into. Okay, I start by sharing my screen now. Let's see if it works. So now maybe someone can just let me know if there is a visibility of my screen. Do you see my screen? Just one feedback. Positive?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So, okay, we start with that. Thank you. Please mute again. Thank you. So once, just to start, this is my presentation. The thing is, if you see on the left, right here, you have access to my presentation. The link here gives you access to this presentation, so you can also accede to it later. You can write comments as someone did here. It's fine. You can point it out. This line I will delete it again. So you see someone just texted the line. It's not a big problem. Anyway. And you can also work on it. Please remain on that. This is my presentation. You can also download it if you have a low bandwidth, which means if you want to share a presentation with students which may not be able to accede synchronously, you can deliver that as a downloadable version, and this should work as well. Okay. We go back. Chances and boundaries of distance education. We are now in a new normal after COVID, or still in COVID. I know that there was a lockdown in Iloilo as well as there was a lockdown here. And everything stood still. Not only education, but also economy still stands or stood still. We had to adapt. Not only economy had to adapt. You knew the online shopping boomed if it was available, at least in my country, but also education had to adapt. And actually, I will start with the chance. If we would have had this lockdown 10 years ago, I think it would not be possible to do the education, continue the education, the way of educating we can do now. So actually, to a certain extent, it's a chance that we have now to being able to connect to each other, to still continue our education. On the other hand, of course, it would be much better if I would be there in a room with you and we could connect directly and we could discuss face to face and we could interchange ideas. I could help you on your specific problem, opening your notebook or your smartphone, showing you something, coming with you to the classroom. This is not possible. So actually, in this new normal, we have to try to get the added value of the potential of technology with the boundaries we have in order to find a way to maximize the outcome of our goals of education. I have some background noise. Can you please try to mute your microphone? Thank you very much. Okay, let's start with that. I hope I try to go on the definitions. Actually, if you talk about distance education, you talk about distance. So what type of distance are we talking about? Sorry, I just try to mute you all again. Someone I cannot mute. There is a noise. Is it mine? I hear some. Okay. I hear some disturbing background noise. Better. Okay. Anyway, what sort of distance are we talking about? There are actually temporal distance, social distance, temporal distance, which would mean like I'm in a different time zone than you. Social distance, you're talking to some person, a politician you would never be able to talk about. Are we talking about cognitive distance to people we don't have any cognitive issues? Or are you talking about social geographical distance? And I think if you read the title about distance education, most of you we're thinking of spatial and geographical distance, which means the students are at home, you're at school or in your place, and you try to educate over this distance. But actually, you may also use this chance to educate not only over geographical and spatial distance, but also over other distances. And actually, I think it's for all of us clear that this distance education from the conceptual understanding of spatial distance has to be done by media, or media can help to bridge this social distance. Let me try. So temporal, social, cognitive, spatial, geographical distance. Of course, we think that media is helpful. If we want, and I'm not just talking about digital media, I can also talk about printed media. If you want to read a book with your students, they can be at home, you can be at home. Of course, you make a copy of the book and you give it to them, and they can be educated. They can write you letters. So media has a certain really big, or can have a big function in helping to bridge distances. So, which means actually media, the use of media for education can be something that helps doing what you see on that video here. What is that? This is a bridge among two places, and it's actually a symbol for bridging. So by using media, you can bridge the distance. And of course, you cannot bridge only the distance, the social distance, not only the spatial distance. You can bridge the temporal distance. I go back. So media actually can help to bridge all these distances, temporal distance. For instance, I am here, it is 11:20 a.m. You are there, it's 5:20 p.m. By using this distance, I educate you and actually bridge a temporal distance, social distance. Of course, you can connect with many people all over the world, which usually you would not be able to connect with using media. And this digital media can help you to bridge such social distances. And this is something actually an added value. And if you think about teaching, doing distance education, you should emphasize on these added values. Maybe you connect to a scientist in your region which is talking about forests if you do some STEM education. If you are having a foreign second language acquisition, English, why don't you connect to someone living in a native English speaking region? You can bridge this distance, this social distance, which you would not be able to connect without this technology. Cognitive distance, this is something, if you have different understanding of about concepts, you can bridge this distance as well. And then, of course, what our main understanding of distance education is actually bridging the spatial and geographical distance, being at home and trying to set up somehow a curriculum and a lesson and a learning activities which really fit and help students to achieve their goals and of course to learn. And now we come to the next question. Education, distance education. What actually is education? And for us, all of us, I hope that education, we are teacher, we know that education or part of education is constructing the own representation. It's like means like learning about new concepts and of course acquiring knowledge. That can be factual knowledge like words in a foreign language, conceptual knowledge, understanding about the concept of evolution or of the solar system. That could be procedural knowledge, learning to make a fire. That could be social knowledge, being able to interact in a group and being able to help each other. And of course, also problem solving knowledges. These are part of education which are crucial. And I think all of us, we know or we are aware that for really doing this part of education, the best way to do it is being at the same time, in the same place, with some person which is in charge to help us to acquire, to go through it. I just checked the chat and I think it's nothing to react at the moment. Okay, I don't react. Feel free, just if you have something, some question, or just open the mic and go on. So this is something which is a constraint actually about really distance education. Now I have two chats again. Oh, it's about phone numbers. Anyway, so this is one thing which could be better if we would have the opportunity to be in the same room. So now we do some distance education, and how can we overcome these boundaries? What methods, what structural, what structures, what tools do we have in order to really overcome the issues that are bound to really giving a good education? But first of all, before I talk about the tools and the issues and the upcoming problems, I would like to say this part of education actually is also learning. And this is our actually, we are the, or you and me as well, a bit, we are the experts about learning. We had a long education about that. You have long experience. You know what you want your students to learn. And all of us, we know that actually this is not an easy path to go, and it's not a linear path to go. And I would like to show you like a picture I've taken, actually a short video I've taken yesterday in front of my house, that are the kids, the neighbor kids, they draw something on the floor. By the way, the video you saw before of the bridge, I also took yesterday myself. So this is part of Switzerland and as well. And now you will see part of my house, in front of my house, and that are a drawing from kids, and I will try to show what are the understanding of learning I have, and of course the understanding of learning you may have as well. So you see, learning actually is something it's a drawing. The kids, they wrote a road in the like they designed with chalk a road, and for me it's like a symbolic for the road, for the path of learning. It's not a straight road. It has bended right and left. There are bifurcation. There are circles. And sometimes there's like sort of parking. You have to wait sometimes because you cannot learn anymore. Then you go on the journey. Different ways lead to the same path. It's something, again, parking, and then it goes on and on and on. So this is the way we want to go with our students, the way we want to go. And we know each and every one of them has a different path. Is for each of everyone, learning is something different. And as well as we do it in a classroom education, of course, when we do distance learning, we should have a similar approach to that. That means we need to orchestrate learning the way that each and every one of our students can go his own way and actually can get responses to their own needs. And that's what I'm planning to do now. Now I was talking about learning. I was talking about chances and boundaries, a bit about distance education, and that was in general. And as I started my presentation, I told to you actually all and every one of you has specific different needs, because someone is an English teacher, the other one is a science teacher, the third one is a art teacher, and all of them, they have to try to do this sort of distance education, effective one. But depending on what students you have, depending on what topic you are teaching, and depending on how you plan to teach your topic, the needs are different. And the problems and the fears, or the issues you may encounter are different. And now it's time for your voice. And actually, I would like to make an experiment with you. Let's talk about your needs. I would like to do like sort of groups. We are 40 people. So I think I make groups of 4, and all of you will discuss for the next 10 minutes in groups of 4 persons. What are your specific needs in this specific new normal about teaching and learning in distance without meeting your students or partially meeting your students face to face. For doing this exercise, you need to take now a bit of paper and you need to write down this URL. Maybe someone can just post it on the chat again. Can someone just post this URL on the chat? I think that should be fine and feasible, because you will need that URL after your discussion. In the meanwhile, I will try to, I will quickly stop my screencast. Oh wait, I do it as well. I try to. I will just publish this URL in the chat, so you can access to it. Okay, in the chat, I go here. Yeah. So this URL, you need it. So just keep in mind, you can see it or write it down. The other thing, I will make now groups of around 4 people. Let me check. What happens? Oh, there is something I cannot do. I cannot make me as a host. Okay, I have just to change something, because I would like to discuss about your needs. And the thing is, actually, I cannot make the exercise I plan to do. I plan to create breakout sessions, but I cannot, because actually at the moment there is a little bit of technical issues. I'm not a host. I'm just co-host. I don't know why, because I opened this session. I will try to do like I change a bit my plan. Namely, I would like you to do the following thing. I would like you to go on the URL I posted on the chat, and you can do that on your computer or on your smartphone. And what you can do there, I would like you to describe about what topics are you teaching? What methods are you wanting to use? What added values you want to have by use of technology? What tools you think you want to use? And what are you thinking are the constraints? And the way to do so, I will show how you can work on that. And it's like an exercise we do not in groups, but alone. I share the screen again. Just coming here, I think you should see the screen. You can go on that. If you go in that URL, you can add a plus